Empire.
Welcome to Inside the Cap. I'm your host, Joel Corey. You can find me on Twitter at Corey Joel. That's CORRYJOEL. And also read my regular CBSSports.com column, Agents Take on NFL salary cap and contract matters. The trading deadline is this upcoming Tuesday, November 1st at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're going to focus on players that could be traded and teams which could be looking to upgrade talent, buyers, before the deadline. First thing we're going to do is recap a couple of trades that have happened this week. The Jets acquired James Robinson from the Jacksonville Jaguars for a conditional 6th-round pick that becomes a fifth. That could upgrade to a 5th-round pick after losing Breece Hall tore his ACL in the Jets' last game. Two other moves have been made, more significant moves as well. The Chicago Bears traded Robert Quinn, who led the NFC in sacks with 18.5 last year, to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 4th-round pick. The Bears are going to assume most of the remaining balance of his $7.8 million salary. So the Eagles only picking up $684,444,000. So the Bears are gonna eat $7,137,778 a salary, get a 2023 4th-round pick in return. The last 2 years of his contract have been lopped off. He was scheduled to make $27 million over those next 2 years, 13 in 2023, 14 in 2024. Eagles lost Derek Barnett in the season opener, torn ACL. So this gives them another rotational pass rusher. So they've already got Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, Brandon Graham. So much different dynamic for Robert Quinn. Playtime is going to go down. He's going to be in a rotation, and he won't see the type of defensive attention he was seeing in Chicago. And we also had the New York Giants give up on 2021 first-round pick, Kadarius Toney, who was taken 20th overall. Trade the wide receiver to the Kansas City Chiefs for a compensatory 3rd-round pick in 2023 and a 2023 6th-round pick. He's been out with a hamstring issue. Gives Andy Reid another chess piece. Explosive athlete. So giving another toy to Andy Reid. Kind of the richer getting richer in both these cases, because the Chiefs look like they're going to win, or at least have a good head start on the AFC West, and the Eagles are the only undefeated team in the NFL. Toney under contract through 2024, also 5th-year option. The Chiefs are going to take on the remaining $784,431 of his base salary this year. Then the following 2 years, there's a little over $4.4 million. That's a little over 1.9 in 2023 and 2.53 in 2024. So for basically a little over 2.5 years plus a 5th-year option, 2025, that the Chiefs have him for about $5.22 million. Now, this is in addition to the Chris McCaffrey trade, which is the focus of last week's podcast. So we're having a lot of movement ahead of the actual trading deadline. So we'll see if this is just the tip of the iceberg or most of the trades have been done, and it's going to be a rather quiet Monday and Tuesday before the 4 p.m. Eastern deadline on November 1st. Now, teams I don't expect to be buyers, if you are bringing up the rear division and it looks like you're not going to make the playoffs, typically you are not buyers. So that would be the Houston Texans, who have 1 win. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 2-5, but probably better than their record indicates. The Denver Broncos are 2-5. If they drop to 2-6 by losing to Jacksonville in the Sunday morning game in London, somebody's going to be 2-6. One of those two teams. That maybe they go into fire sale mode. Detroit Lions have 1 win. The Carolina Panthers knocked off a reeling Tampa Bay Buccaneers team by running the ball down their throat. They're 2-5. They got rid of Christian McCaffrey. They could be sellers. Not the Cleveland Browns. The Chicago Bears are 3-4. Nobody expected them to be 3-4. They're not going to be buyers. Now, I want to mention 2 guys off of these teams that there's chatter about whether they could get traded or speculation. Roquan Smith, who got emotional when Robert Quinn was dealt because he was talking to the media at the time when he found out, had the acrimonious contract negotiations, requested a trade, wasn't granted during his hold-in. I don't think he's getting traded for a couple of reasons. One, he's doing what he needs to do in a contract year. I have a feeling the Bears haven't given up on trying to sign him. Could always stick a franchise tag on him, which would be right around $20.5 million. Off-ball linebacker has not been franchised since 2011. That was David Harris by the Jets. But he is their best defensive player, probably the best player on the team. Their asking price would be steep. Knowing that you can stick a franchise tag on him and the compensation for unmatched offer sheet would be 2 first-round picks. Nobody gets 2 first-round picks for a franchise player, but it's going to be more than a first-round pick. Nobody's going to pay. I shouldn't say nobody. I'd be shocked if somebody gave Chicago a first-round pick for Roquan Smith this year. Now, Laramie Tunsil. A lot of teams need left tackles, and he's a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle who looks like he's going to go to the Pro Bowl, or this new incarnation of what you call this Pro Bowl celebration. He's going to get honors the way he's playing. Maybe the only guy on that Texans team. Too complicated of a deal. 2023 is his contract year. He's scheduled to make $18.5 million in 2023. They've already converted $16.815 million of the $18 million he was supposed to make this year. So that only leaves someone with needing $575,000 worth of cap room to acquire him. When they got him from Miami, it was for more than 2 first-round picks. Left tackle is a premium position. So someone's going to have to give up, I would suspect, probably multiple first-round picks, maybe more, and then worry about paying him when he signed his extension right around the draft in 2020, made him the first $20 million per year offensive lineman at $22 million per year. He's going to want to reclaim his position as the highest paid offensive lineman. So that's probably more of an off-season thing, whether Houston decides he's part of the building block for presumably the quarterback of the future they draft, if they're going to be right up there picking in the top 3, top 5. You want to have a left tackle. It's going to have a cap number over $35 million with the Texans next year, so that could be an interesting negotiation. But just want to get that out there before turning to teams and players that could be potential trade candidates. Now, there are 3 NFC teams I suspect will be trying to make moves. The Rams were in the hunt for Christian McCaffrey, were outbid by the 49ers. They've got that left need F them picks philosophy, where their premium picks they don't keep, but they do have a pretty good complement of picks between the mostly comprised of day 3 picks, compensatory picks. But we know they're looking for a running back. They need to do something about that running game. The running game is not good. They got tons of holes, and you probably only fill one through trade. Running game's not good. They lost Joseph Noteboom, the left tackle, towards Achilles. They don't get to the quarterback like they did last year. They really miss Von Miller, who is with the Buffalo Bills, went there in free agency. But to me, the next best running back to McCaffrey would be Kareem Hunt. And something about Kareem Hunt I've never understood. He won the rushing title as a rookie in 2017. Got released middle of the season, the second year, because of the domestic violence incident. Goes to Cleveland. And when he's a restricted free agent, for the life of me, I don't understand from a pure football standpoint why you don't play out your RFA year and leave. Why do you sign a 3-year deal at that point when Nick Chubb is in front of you? Because you're never going to be the guy who won the rushing title with Nick Chubb there. Now, in the preseason, inexplicably, he wanted a new deal or to be traded. But why are you even talking new deal with Cleveland when Nick Chubb is in the first year of a 3-year deal averaging $12.2 million per year? So he's in a contract year. Between his base salary and these 2 roster bonuses he has in his contract, cap charge for him is going to be about 3.1. The Rams have about 4.5 million in cap room. To me, he could get their running game going, and it shouldn't cost any more than a 4th-round pick to obtain Hunt. The Rams don't have a 4th-round pick, though, because that went to the Patriots in a 2021 preseason trade. The 2023 4th-round pick was part of the Sony Michel pick. They also don't have a 5th-round pick because they've done business with the Browns, and that went to the Browns for cornerback Troy Hill during this year's NFL draft. They should get 2 compensatory 5th-round picks, though. Now, maybe a backup plan is Cam Akers wants out. He's not playing for personal reasons. So one way or another, he's probably gone. You got $659 of salary left for him for the rest of the year. And what I probably should have said earlier is when you're acquiring a player at the trading deadline, which will be after Week 8's games, that you have to have enough cap room to take on the remaining balance of his base salary and any other salary components in the contract. So that's 10/18 of base salary, plus if there are any per-game roster bonuses or anything like that, and then whatever else is in the contract after this year. If you can't get Kareem Hunt, I might poke around Minnesota if I'm the Rams, because Akers, there needs to be a change of scenery. And Alexander Mattison is in a contract year. Just a player-for-player swap. $536,111 is what's left on his contract this year. He's backing up Dalvin Cook. Akers is under contract for another year. So that would give the Vikings a backup running back behind Cook next year. Madison gets a chance to, and he's not Kareem Hunt, to jumpstart his career, maybe the Rams offense at the same time. And this is intriguing for another reason, that Kevin O'Connell, who's the Rams offensive coordinator the last 2 years, is the Vikings head coach. Both guys know the offense. Vikings have other needs, like maybe cornerback, but they don't have cap space. They got a little under $500,000 of cap space. $500,000. They're under the cap. And these cap numbers I give you for teams will be according to NFLPA data. So if they were able to swing this trade, they'd pick up about $115,000 of cap relief and have a guy for next year. But the Rams don't go running back. As I said, Joseph Noteboom's out for the year. They just signed Ty Nsekhe off of the Colts practice squad. He's 36. But I might start poking around other areas for left tackle. And there are two that come to mind in particular. Andre Dillard with the Philadelphia Eagles and Isaiah Wynn with the New England Patriots. Andre Dillard was supposed to be the left tackle of the future. He was a 2019 first-round pick, but that kind of went out the window when Jordan Mailata beat him out in 2021 in preseason, and they gave him an extension. So they didn't pick up the fifth-year option. So Dillard is going to be free. You're going to need a little over $1.2 million to take the bulk of his contract for the rest of the year. Problem is Philadelphia is going to will want something ridiculous for him. In terms of compensatory picks, the best you can do for anybody is a third-round pick in 2024 free agency. That's the back of the third round, basically top of the fourth round. But they're going to want more than that, so that may be a problem. Same thing with New England, with Isaiah Wynn. He's got $5.875 million left on the fifth-year option that he's playing under for the $10.413 million fifth-year option. He's moved from left tackle to right tackle and ain't been pretty. Probably doesn't have a future in New England. So I'd be more willing to give higher compensation for Wynn than Dillard if I'm the Rams. But the math doesn't work given where the Rams are cap-wise. They don't have enough to cover Wynn's remaining salary. So New England has to eat some of that, or the Rams have to start restructuring contracts. But they need help pass rusher as well. They need something. I think they had 12 sacks for the year. Broncos GM George Payton called Bradley Chubb a core player. He's playing under a fifth-year option for I think it's $13.926 million. So there's a little over 7.7 of salary left for him. He's got 5.5 sacks. His problem is durability has been his issue. So last year, Von Miller came over for Denver, older guy. Chubb, fifth-year option in his prime. That was 2022 second and third round picks. Denver $8-9 million of Miller's remaining salary of a little over $9.7 million. Maybe if you do something like that, the compensation would be similar to Von Miller's trade. You could have the option of franchising Bradley Chubb. If you try to do an extension, he's probably thinking, hey, I have 5.5 sacks in 7 games. I'm going to go hit double-digit sacks, so we're talking first number would be a 2. And I mean as in the extension, so we're talking $20 million per year plus. Now, if you want to go more affordable, older pass rusher, maybe it's a Jerry Hughes. He's 34, has 4 sacks this season for the Texans that are going nowhere fast. You need basically $1.4 million for the rest of the year for Jerry Hughes. Tampa Bay Buccaneers probably have to do something. The Buccaneers are in the worst division in football. They lost to the Ravens on Thursday night football to fall to 3-5. If you're 3-5, you're going nowhere fast. You're particularly if you've lost 5 of your last 6 games. Start out 2-0, wheels are falling off. The biggest problem is the interior of the offensive line. Really need to address left guard more than anything else. So they got other holes too. Running game's terrible. Lost Shaq Barrett, the best pass rusher, to an Achilles tear. Had him replace Rob Gronkowski with him retiring. So there are a lot of holes on this team. But left guard's an issue. There are some guys who could be an upgrade, but not game changers, like Jackson Carman, Bengals 2021 second-round pick. He's been a healthy scratch the last 5 games. He was beaten out by 2022 fourth round pick Cordell Olson for that job. It was a little bit of a surprise, but you need $554,797 cap space to acquire him. And the Buccaneers have a little under 3.6 of cap space. So that's an easy one. Dalton Risner, the left guard in Denver's in a contract year. You need about 1.5 of cap space for him. They have Graham Glasgow, who could come off the bench and move in to play. Also, Ravens 2021 third round pick Ben Cleveland. You need a little over $488,000 for him. Hadn't played a snap this season. Started 4 games in 2021. Can't imagine that this would take anything more than a day 3 fifth round pick, 5th to 7th round, to get any of these three, although I suspect Denver would drive the hardest bargain. With Carmen and Cleveland, since they are both draft picks, they would be under contract through 2024 as 2021 draft picks, and you'd have Carmen for shade over $3 million for those 2 years, and Cleveland for just under $2.4 million. As I said earlier, there's a hole in Tampa's offense because of Rob Gronkowski's retirement. So, ideally for Tampa, they could probably Mike Gesicki away from Miami because he's not the long-term option at tight end. They stuck a franchise tag on him for $10.931 million, but he doesn't block well enough for what new head coach Mike McDaniel wants in his offense. Before, Jerome Smythe hurt his hamstring, and he's now come back. The playtime was like a 60-40 split in favor of Smythe. Gesicki's really a oversized wide receiver. Now, Tampa, a little over 3.5 in cap room. He's got a shade under 6'1" left on his contract. They would probably want more compensation than anybody's willing to give. I'd peg it at minimum second round pick, so he's probably not going anywhere. I'd sniff around Tennessee if you're going to go the tight end route with Austin Hooper. Sign him to a 1-year deal for $6 million. All but his minimum salary is in signing bonus. So that was $4.965 million in signing bonus. So there's $575,000 left. Tennessee runs the ball. The first option is Derrick Henry. Second option is Derrick Henry. The third option is Derrick Henry. And Hooper's their best pass-catching tight end. They don't play him. He's third in tight end snaps when they beat the Colts on Sunday, week 7. He's the team's leading receiver for 56 yards. That's season high for him. Normally it's been, if he catches any passes, it's 1 per game. I'd poke around there. Another option that may have the most potential would be Denver. And their tight end situation, they've got, I think, 5 tight ends on the roster, which is just crazy you'd have that many tight ends. And Albert Okwuegbunam was supposed to be their tight end. He's now been a healthy scratch the past couple of weeks since one of the third-round picks from this year, Greg Dulcich, came off of IR. So he was a 2020 fourth-round pick. He's under contract next year for $1.01 million, and only costs shade under $500,000 for him, $497,222. So either one of these two guys, you're probably talking like a 6th-round pick to obtain one of them. But there's a lot of different ways Tampa could go, and you're probably only going to fill one hole through a trade. If they didn't play in the worst division in football, and they've got Tom Brady at quarterback, then they might not be someone who would be looking to upgrade. Now, another team that was a favorite preseason to come out of the NFC is the Green Bay Packers, and They're 3-4 for the first time, under 500 after 7 games for the first time in the 15 years Aaron Rodgers has been starting quarterback. They've won the NFC North the past 3 years with 13 wins. They were expected to run away with it again. That's not happening. The Vikings are in first place, 5-1. They already have as many losses this year as they had all last year, and they're staring 3-5 in the face because they play the Buffalo Bills next. Now, Aaron Rodgers is already imploring them publicly to do something. By that, I mean probably wide receiver. If you do nothing, and Green Bay doesn't have a history of making trading deadline moves, then he's going to be more of an unhappy camper than he already is. And if that happens, it wouldn't surprise me if Aaron Rodgers just walks away next year, either says, I'm going to play football, but you're going to have to trade me, and you got more drama to deal with. But anyway, there are several directions Green Bay could go at wide receiver, and I'm going to focus only on wide receiver for them. One option that's intriguing to me is Brandon Cooks, who's been traded 3 times in his career so far. Last time was when the Rams dealt him in 2020 before the draft for a second-round pick. They gave up Cooks in a 2022 fourth-round pick for the Texans. Now, the Texans gave him a 2-year contract extension in April. Most of this year's money was in a signing bonus, so to get him for the rest of the year, you only need $622,222. That's not the problem. And the Packers can fit that easy because they have a little over 6.4 cap room. The question is, he's got $35 million in the next 2 years, and his 2023 base salary of $18 million was fully guaranteed in the extension. So compensation wouldn't be anything close to what it was this last time around, but we've seen some interesting trade compensation with wide receivers near the trading deadline in recent years. We got the Tony trade this year for a 3rd and a 6th, which kind of informs the market. But in the past, we had Mohamed Sanu go for a 2nd-round pick, Golden Tate go for a 3rd-round pick, older guys. Given the whole contractual situation, I wouldn't want to give up more than a 5th unless you get the Texans to eat more money by converting some of that 2023 base salary on the way out the door. And there's only so much they can do. So it's really not going to work unless they're going to start restructuring contracts. They got like 1.7 cap room. So you're probably going to have to be comfortable taking on that $18 million fully guaranteed base salary if anyone wants Brandon Cooks. Now, I would also look at Chase Claypool, who has been supposedly available since the preseason, and Pittsburgh rumored to want an arm and a leg for him. He was taken in 2020 as a 2nd-round pick, 49th overall, so they'd want more than that. Now, the thing about him is it costs $673,000 for this year. Claypool's under contract beyond that. As a 2023, he's got a salary of a little over 1.5. It's probably going to escalate because he's probably earned the proven performance escalator, so it's really probably going to be probably pushing 3. Another guy I might look at is Jerry Jeudy in Denver. Their 2020 first-round pick. This makes sense from the standpoint it'd be a seamless transition into the offense because Nathaniel Hackett is a head coach who's Green Bay's offensive coordinator the last 3 years. You need a little over 1-1 for the rest of the year. You'd have a small sample size to determine whether you'd want to pick up his 2024 5th-year option. You have him under contract for 2023 as well. But that becomes the question, do you want to pick up the 5th-year option? So you'd have a little bit of an opportunity to decide that. He's making almost 2.7 next year, so that's still very cost-contained. I'd also be sniffing around the Saints. Marquez Callaway was their leading receiver last year by default because Michael Thomas was out all year for an ankle injury, and they traded with Philly and gave up this year's 2023 first round pick, which where they are, it's going to be, if they keep doing what they're doing, it's potentially a top 5 pick to move up, take Chris Olave. Signed Jarvis Landry. The receiving core is not healthy, but Callaway's a 4th receiver when everybody's healthy. And it takes just under $500,000 for him for the rest of the year. He's an RFA after the year, so as a 2020 undrafted free agent, you could stick a tender of what projects to $2.629 million. That's if the cap's $225 million, where you'd have matching rights for him if you wanted to retain him beyond this year. You might want to look at New England as well. Nelson Aguilar, need $5 million for the rest of the year. That's his remaining salary. I'd want the Patriots to pay some of that, since he'd probably just be a 10-game rental unless you make the playoffs. And these are really, like, for Callaway and Aguilar, we're talking day 3 pick. More so for Callaway than Aguilar unless you're eating salary. Jeudy, I would think, would go for more than Tony. Tony was a 3rd and a 6th, so Judy's probably more than that. So that may be some directions they could go. Or you can start looking at the Jets for like a Denzel Mims, who's wanted out, doesn't, kind of the odd man out up there. And you'd only need $613,000 for him for the rest of the year. He's a 2020 second-round pick under contract next year for basically $1.35 million. Now, there are other teams that probably should be in the market. We know Buffalo kind of kicked the tires on McCaffrey, so they might be in the market for a running back, and the running backs we mentioned previously. Maybe Cam Akers, straight up trade him there for a late-round pick. I'd get in the Kareem Hunt sweepstakes, or I might investigate what's going on in Chicago with David Montgomery. He's in the final year of his contract. Khalil Herbert has been their most effective running back. You'd need $1.55 million for the rest of the year for him. Buffalo just has a shade over $2 million in cap room is the problem. I don't know if I'd want to go the Melvin Gordon route. He was in a timeshare with Javonte Williams before he tore his ACL, and he's out for the year. But then they brought Latavius Murray off the street and played him in front of him. Gordon's had a fumbling problem this year. He's under contract, a 1-year deal at $2.5 million. You need a little over 1.3 for the rest of the year between his base salary and his almost $150,000 in per game roster bonuses. But maybe Buffalo's going to look at a receiver. They don't have a reliable third receiver. Some of the guys I was mentioning with Green Bay would be applicable to Buffalo. So they might be someone in that market. Now, one of the teams that made a trade earlier this week that no one really anticipated being this successful, Giants are 6-1. You can say what you want about how the wins look, but they close out games. They're all one-score games, but they win. So that's all that matters. You don't get style points. The receiving core doesn't scare anybody. I would imagine if they could, they'd probably try to pawn Kenny Golladay off on someone, but he's got a $13 million base salary this year. So that's basically a little over 7-2 for the rest of the year. They'd have to eat some of that. Then next year, he's got a $4.5 million roster bonus that was guaranteed on the 3rd day of this year. And given what he doesn't do, he's got a knee problem. But he also expressed the good attitude that he was looking forward to coming back and contributing to a team that's 6-1. But if they're going to go receiver for the Giants, the one guy I'd keep an eye on is Jerry Jeudy for one reason. Head coach Brian Daboll was Alabama's offensive coordinator in 2017. And I've always said familiarity brings comfort. And he knows Jeudy. You got an extra third and sixth round pick. You could package the third or your own third, and you probably need more than the sixth to go get Jeudy. I might go tight end because you were already thin there to begin with before Daniel Bellinger suffered that serious eye injury and is out indefinitely. So I might look at a couple of guys I mentioned with the Titans, Austin Hooper. I might look at him and Albert Okuwebenam as well. I'd look at those two guys. That may be a direction for the Giants to go if they're deciding to get into the market. Now, San Diego is another team to me. Not San Diego, excuse me. The Los Angeles Chargers. I'd still do that, have that slip. But the Chargers now have a potential hole in the secondary because J.C. Jackson is out for the year for knee injury. So they might go corner. They invested in the interior of the defensive line in free agency, but they still have a hard time stopping the run. So maybe they're looking at linebacker instead. Maybe they go linebacker if they're going to do anything. And I said I don't think Roquan Smith gets traded, although Brandon Staley was once on the staff in Chicago, and they're swinging for the fences right now. With all they're active in free agency, traded for Khalil Mack. But in terms of linebacker, Shaq Thompson may make sense. He's probably not going to be in Carolina next year. Most of his $12 million salary was converted into signing bonus in March, so you need $622,000 for the base, and he's got another $250,000 in per game roster bonuses, so it's $872,000 basically. It's under contract next year for $13.16. Maybe you do what Philadelphia did with Robert Quinn. Maybe you want to have the flexibility to try to give him take a pay cut. But I can't imagine let's say like fifth round pick maybe for him. Now, if you're going to go secondary, then you've got some ways you could go. William Jackson was rumored to want to go someplace to play man-to-man, and then he's saying, I want to stay. But that might be a way to go in the secondary. The Chargers have $3.9 million in cap space. He'd take up basically $3.25 for the rest of the year, and he's under contract next year for $12.75. $2.5 million is a third day of the league year roster bonus. Maybe you look at a Sidney Jones 1-year deal with the Seahawks for $3.6 million. Tariq Woolen, Mike Jackson, Kobe Bryant, the youth movement. He's kind of the odd man out. You need 1.3 between the $900 base salary and the $400,000 in per game roster bonuses for him. Or maybe it's a Breece Hall. With the Jets, that's kind of the odd man out. Between DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner, he's 2020 fifth round pick. And you need $497,000 and some change for this year, and he's under contract next year for $1.01 million. So that may be a way for the Chargers to go, because after narrowly missing the playoffs, I know they've been decimated by injury this year, that they're a team which might make a move. Now, the Bengals have lost Jamar Chase, who is Joe Burrow's favorite receiver, for hip injury, which is estimated to be 4 to 6 weeks. Now, will they put him on IR or not remains to be seen. And they have other holes as well. DJ Reader's out, interior defensive line. We'll see if he comes back. Could probably use another cornerback. If you want to swing for the fences for interior defensive line, that'd be Deron Payne, who I don't think is going to get re-signed. Washington with the Commanders, because you're already paying Jonathan Allen $18 million per year, and then you got to worry about the edge rushers. It's some long-term planning. Chase Young and Montez Sweat. He's on a fifth-year option. And you need $4.738 million for him. And the Bengals, from a cap standpoint, only have 3.5. Plus, I think the compensation they'd want too cost prohibitive. Kansas City just made the trade for Tony. I thought corner might be a way they might go instead. Recently restructured the contract for Travis Kelce to kind of get him through the end of the year, and now they've still got about $3.4 million of cap space. And the one thing about these teams is receiver, somebody's going to sign Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know where he's going to go. Von Miller swears he's going to Buffalo. That really needs a third receiver, so we'll see. But that's my look at some things that could happen before the trading deadline, potential teams that could be in the market and players that could be on the move. Don't forget, you can find me on Twitter at Corey Joel, that's CORRYJOL. And also read my regular CBSSports.com column, Agents Taking Info Salary Cap and Contract Matters. Thanks for listening.